Welcome to the S.J. Childs Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, and thanks for joining the S.J. Childs Show. I am excited to meet and get to know Liza Miron. She is someone I've met through podcasts. I guess it was on Podmatch, possibly, huh? Really like that site. I've been meeting some just fantastic people that, sometimes in the podcasting world, you're always wanting to know, like, where do I get a great guest? How can I find somebody that, has my same vibe and that we can have a great conversation? So I love that it's a pretty good service. And yeah, I'm not getting any credit from them, but hey, I'll give them a shout out anyways. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Wonderful to meet you as well. Thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Yes. And where are you at in the world? I should have asked you that.
I'm in California, in San Jose.
Okay, so you're a little bit earlier in the afternoon. Just I'm in Utah, in Salt Lake City, Utah. So we're not too far off neighbors. And I lived in the East Bay area for many years, and I just love California. So nice to have you. I'm excited to hear about the services that you provide. But before we get started with that, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started and why you're here.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Guatemala. I was born there and I lived there until I got married. And then after that, I went with my husband to Europe. I studied business administration and I was working in finance. And then I left everything when I got married. And we lived in many countries. And since we were moving from one country to another, I wanted a career that I could easily transport from one place to another. And the life coaching was starting at that point. So that was around year 2001, 2002. Okay. So I was like, oh, that really sounds awesome. And it sounds something, it's like something that I can do from one place to another.
Yeah.
And at some point we started living in Spain. And that's when I started doing first, I did a master in human resources and started working in a company in human resources. And then I found the master's in life coaching. So I started doing that. And one of my teachers said, no matter how much limiting beliefs, how many action plans, how many exercises you do with your clients, there's some clients that are just going to be stuck. And with them, you should suggest that they do a family constellation. And then I was like, oh, what? The stars? What is he talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, this definitely feels important enough to find out a little bit more. So I started exploring about family constellations. And for me, it was amazing. So first, it has nothing to do with the stars.
Okay.
If anybody here is wondering, it has nothing to do. The word apparently is translated from German. And the way it is in German, it's more like family placement, like the order, the structure in the family system.
Yeah.
But it's the same word that's used for the constellations, and it got translated as family constellations. But it would be more accurate to say family placement, but now it's known as family constellations. So, but it has nothing to do with the stars.
Okay.
So I started learning more about it, and for me, it just made sense. I just felt connected to the methods, to how I saw that I was changing people that I knew. It was changing me, and I started to learn more and more and more. I did the training there when I was in Spain, not because I wanted to become a facilitator, but because I loved it so much that I wanted to learn more. And when I came to live here to the States, I came in 2013. I saw, where's my group of family constellations? I used to go every single week to my teacher's session. She used to do Tuesdays and Wednesdays. There would be 30 or 40 people every single week. It was part of my life. I would go I would go on Tuesdays. That was like my day. So, and I loved it. It was like part of the routine. You go to the gym. I go to the gym and I go to do my family constellations session once a week. So when I came here, I started to, where is my family constellations group that I'm going to join? And I could hardly find anything at all. And here, I'm in the Bay Area. It's a big a big
Diverse place.
community. It's
Yeah.
diverse. It's not a town with 100 people. And I could hardly find anything. And the things that I found were very far away. And at some point I said, well, I have my training, so I'm going to start facilitating groups. And that's when I started.
Mm. I love building communities. I think that it's so special, especially when you find a passion and then you can build those communities and you start bringing these like minds together. Everything is possible in the impossible that feels, for at that time, isn't it? And I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
definitely.
And especially when you've been able to learn from so many different points of reference and culture, because in our own country, there's so many cultures, and it's so important that you kind of have this perspective to honor and give grace to maybe some cultures that do things a little differently that might need to be give accommodations a different way. So that's really special. What are like some basic steps that you would say you recommend to a family that might come to you, or an individual that just says, I just can't get past this?
Yeah. So the family constellations work is very specific, and it's not therapy. Even though it's called a therapeutic method, it's really completely different. And it's, like I was saying, it's very connected to the structure of the family and to our connection with our ancestors. So we usually do this individually. So, for example, a person would come because they have problems with their son or their father or their sister, or maybe with their job, maybe with abundance, maybe a health issue. And we're going to try to find what has happened in the past in the family system that has this person stuck in that area of their lives, because we're connected to our family. We belong to the energy field of our ancestors. We're here because of them. So we want to belong. We want to be part of the system because belonging means survival. So unconsciously, we're going to follow the patterns. We're going to have the same situations as they did. And we're so grateful for our life. And again, this is all unconscious. It's like we want to help heal. So we connect to the trauma of the past, of what our ancestors were not able to do. And it's like, I'm going to help you heal. So I'm going to carry your pain. I'm going to carry your grief. I'm going to carry your fear. And then I'm stuck in my life with these situations. Or like my mother, and I'm making these examples up, like my mother was not able to get along with her mother. I'm not able to get along with her. It's like we follow the pattern. Or because, I don't feel love from my father because he did not feel love from his parents. And often the love is there. We're just not able to see it because we're expecting it in a different way.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah. So when a person comes with me with whatever issue they want to heal, we start asking questions about the family system. We start connecting to the family system to see what has happened in the past. Where is a gap in the connection of love with our ancestors? And we connect to our ancestors in this healing method by honoring and respecting them. And by letting go of judgment and criticism, understanding that everybody's doing the best that they can, everybody did the best that they could. Even if we have an ancestor that did terrible and horrible things, those that we want to forget about, even those we will honor and respect them because we understand that they also had those connections from the family system, that they lived in a very different moment of time with their parents, with the culture, with what was going on. And they had so many different tools. We often think about our ancestors, even our parents, from us today. Why can't they do this way? Why can't they do that way? Why do they do this always? And why do they don't change? Why don't they take care of themselves? Why do they, for what we all have our things that we want people, our ancestors, especially our parents, to change or do differently. But right now we're in a moment in time that's amazing. If I have a depression, I can Google it. I'm going to have 2 billion articles, podcasts, ideas, therapists, so much information. I mean, we really live in an amazing time. Yes, there's problems. Yes, there's a lot of suffering, and my heart goes to everyone. And I'm not saying that we should not see this, but we also need to remember that the tools that we have today, it's really amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
our parents didn't have those tools. Our grandparents, our
For
great
sure.
grandparents had nothing. So why weren't they able to deal with the situation differently? Because they
Yeah.
didn't have the knowledge, the awareness, the tools, the capacity. So
Mm.
we understand this. So we stop judging them. This does not mean that it's okay if they hurt somebody else. It's never okay. And whoever
Yeah.
hurts somebody else, that's their responsibility.
Mm.
But when we honor and respect them and accept them, then we unconsciously start letting go of all these connections that we're doing unconsciously to
Yeah.
remember them. Because if we want to forget them consciously, then we will connect to them unconsciously. But when we connect to
Isn't that
them,
true?
yeah, you know, what we try to hide, when we try to reject, what we try to avoid, will just become bigger.
Yeah.
So when we do it with love, then the love starts flowing from generation to generation, and we are not stuck anymore. And
Mm.
that's actually the work that we're doing here.
I love that. And it really reminds me of in my own, personal, because we've just met. So it's not like
Yeah.
I've gone through anything with you, but my own personal journey was my husband was in the juvenile detention system most of his youth. And he grew up in a fashion that was harsh and negative and all of these things. And when he came out and he had got married, not to me, but to his first wife and pregnant, he changed his life because he knew that child, he had to do that for that. But what he taught me 10 years later, after getting to know him then, was how wrong the communication, like you had said, how we receive or expect love from someone, and how that communication failure was holding us back so badly. And it was almost that through all of the practices and all the therapists and all of the times he had dissident group therapy and everybody else's, he is an observer, and so he learned so much. And then he just luckily put it inward after at that point, and really started to understand how that communication breakdown, like that is like the devil in the or whatever you want to say, right? It's like it's devil in the details or something. It's really interesting how that form of just, well, distrust starts with this communication that's honest, that's like raw and sometimes vulnerable, and it can be a scary place to be, but the changes you can make from that space um are just existential and just beautiful. So, and like you said, just life changing and changing patterns from the past and going on. It reminded me of a quote I read the other day that said something to the effect of connect to people not on your trauma based on similar traumas, but based on similarities or similar interests. And I think that that's pretty powerful. And I don't think that we do that purposefully, but I do think we do that by habit.
Yeah, yeah. And what you were saying about the communication, it is so, so important because we're terrible. And I know that we've gotten better with time, but we're still, I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much opportunity of growth in
Yes,
our in
definitely.
improving the way that we communicate. Because
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the conflicts that we have are because we are not communicating well with each other.
Mhm.
And because we assume a lot of things of what the other is thinking or saying or meaning by something. And I've been married for 23, almost 23 years.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And it's been a learning process, and I'm still
Yeah.
learning. And there's so much that I learn. And I have this personality, I love to learn. I'm passionate to always become better,
Yeah.
to explore the possibilities, to become a better human being and better wife, better mother, better daughter, better friend. So I'm always very attentive of every situation to sense what happened and to see what happened here, that this is not working. And I've learned so much of how I assume what my husband is thinking.
Mm.
And when he turns too fast, he's angry because I said this and he said and this and this and this. and he just needed to go, very fast because he
Yeah.
remembered something and he wanted to write it down. And I've been realizing that a lot, but then I get angry because of what I think, why I think he did what he did. And then and then he notices because he's also very sensitive. It's like, why are you angry? I'm not angry. Because
Yeah.
of course I recognize, nothing has happened. So I'm not angry. And then it starts escalating. And a lot of those issues come from me misunderstanding his actions,
Body
his
language.
words, his
Yeah.
whatever he's doing. And I've learned so much about this. And now I don't assume anything. I mean, if
Yeah.
there's something really bothering him, I ask him. And it's like 99% of the time, it is not what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it has helped so much in the communication and well-being of the family. It's
Isn't that the truth?
amazing.
You and I are a lot alike in that sense. And it's funny. And the same thing, it'll be 19 years for us this year too. So I think that there's a
Wow,
lot to,
congratulations too.
right? I know there's a lot to be said for that and for being able to really nurture and procure these relationships for as long as we have. And we wouldn't be talking like about them in such a great way if it wasn't working out. Right. And so
Yeah.
you'd hear a totally different side of the story. But I think that one thing that before I get my mind off track here is that no, I already did. I lost my train of thought. That's okay. That's okay. We'll come back to it when I remember. But it is really fascinating and beautiful when you really commit yourself to the process of uh, it, the importance of being in a relationship or the importance of having a relationship with my child and seeing that I raised his daughter as a stepmother. I did my best, like you said. I was showed up in every way that I could. Was it the best for her? No, probably not. It was the where I was coming from as a child from my own parents, and it wasn't coming from her being a human who was having a different experience than me. And I think that that's really hard for parents sometimes is to see this child is here on their own experience, having their own, like, and when we double down on that with our own experiences and our own expectations on them, we can't build those relationships with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's true.
And talking about these relationships and going back to the family constellation part, I said at the beginning that it comes from the German word family placement. Mm. And the important part that we also work with in family constellations is the order. Mm. And the mother being the mother, the child being the child, the wife being the wife. And this is also so important in the harmony of a family because so many times we become, sometimes the wife becomes the mother of the husband, or the husband becomes the father, or the child becomes the parent. And there's a disorder there that affects the strength of the family when we are not in our position. And that's always very important. And it's hard because, of course, we care for others. And we think that we know better and we want them to do things the way we think that would be good for them. And that's why often we step into this mother place with our parents or with our partner or with our children. It is our responsibility until they become adults. When they become adults, then that's on their own. They're now on their own. But it's important to remember that we're not our, partner's mother or our parents' mother or father. And to step back to our place.
It's so
and
true.
Then remember that because often we want others to do things the way we want them to. It's like we're telling them, like, again, in this position of a mother, do this, do that, change this, and then it becomes friction in the relationship. So we need to allow our relationships for everybody to be the way they want to be. And then they're on their own, they're not on their own. That sounds not true. They're responsible for their decisions and they're responsible for their lives. And they're the ones that need to guide their path. And we're just there to support them when they need support. And it's important for them to ask that support instead of us fixing things for them when they're capable of. So all those positions are very important. And when a child takes the responsibility of taking care of the family of our parents, that's because the parents are not doing it. So they step into that position. So parents need to go back and let them be let their child be children,
Yeah.
because they're taking away that experience of just being a child.
Yeah.
So the order, the role that everybody has in the family is very important. And to have harmony in the family and in our lives, that order needs to be respected.
Yeah, I can really see that in we have two kids with autism. They have very different needs. But the way that they interact with one another, one is younger than the other, but she's more responsible. She has more cognitive, abilities and is just brilliant. And he's as brilliant as well, but he struggles with he's as brilliant as a college professor, but struggles to tie his shoes, that kind of thing. It's like
Mhm.
this, it's interesting, the neurological side of those things.
Yeah.
But that I love that how you said that, because oftentimes I think that we place this responsibility on maybe a child that is more capable than a child with a larger disability. And you have to really, there's a fine line where that child needs to have their childhood. They don't need to be a caretaker too early on and
Exactly.
things like that. And um, I know that you don't, do like disability and things, but for me, it just all ties in so beautifully to every family still needs all of the help and support they can get, no matter what,
Yeah.
process they're going through. And you brought me right back to that thought I had lost earlier. And that I was saying that you and I are a lot alike, and that my husband oftentimes likens me to always wanting to view things through somebody else's windshield. I'm worried about what this person and what's how is this appearing, or how is this going to affect this or something, rather than staying in my place sometimes and realizing that their reactions are their own responsibility. Their, whatever, it is all on their own, and I don't have to take that all on me so much sometimes, but because I think we all need a reminder of that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, to come
goodness.
back to our place, to our position, and then stop taking the world on our shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
And
as a
and
mom,
like
it's
you said,
hard. Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard. But like you were saying, yes, it takes a village and we need to support each other, but also in our place without taking on what is not necessary and what is not our responsibility. It's like with children, and each child is different, and according to their own personality, according to their own capabilities and what's going on in their lives, um, they have a path. And
Mhm.
sometimes mothers don't let them be in that path and start doing too much for them
Yeah.
because they want to protect them, because they want to help, because and coming from my place, because I'm impatient. And I've
Oh,
learned during
yeah.
this time, be patient. Let
Yeah.
your daughter do what she needs to do in her own rhythm.
Hmm.
Stop doing things for her because she's not able to learn on her own because
So
of
true.
your impatience. So I need to step back and just,
Right.
yes, this takes time, but this is what's necessary for her to learn, for
Yeah.
me to step back, because otherwise she's not going to learn. And there are moments that we need to do it with them. There are moments that we need
Yes.
to do it for them, because they're, and that balance and to know when to do each part, it's really, really hard. It's
Yeah.
not easy, but it's important to know that there is a moment for each part. And if we are aware of that, well, then we'll be more able to realize in when we're not doing it the
Yeah.
way we should, that this situation they're able to do on their own. So we need to just step back and let them make mistakes if it's necessary.
Yeah.
Or the situations they're really not ready. So we need to guide them or help them or do it for them because they're not there. But if we're aware of this path and that they are able to do it on their own, and we just need to support them when they need that support according to their own path, then it empowers them and
Yes.
it helps the relationship between mother
Mhm.
and child.
I love that. No, it's so true too. We often times encourage our children to be independent when we want them to be, but sometimes not when they need to be. And we suppress those, ideas. Like I'm not sure how old your daughter is. Mine is a preteen, and so okay, we'll buy all these types of makeups. You can try these hair kinds. You can try these because I want you to do it here at home where you can practice and change your mind a bunch of different times, and it won't be so affecting you in the real world when you're 22 looking for a job and you are going through green hairstyles, just to try them out. Not that that's not a thing today, right? I mean, everything's a thing today. And there's not a lot of discretion there. But when I was growing up, like that'd be terrifying for me. I could never imagine of trying to achieve anything like that. But it's so great to now be not having the fights and the arguments and the drawback and the pushback and the everything butting heads when you foster that space of independence, like you said, and you have that awareness, which is that's the key, is that mindset and that awareness that these humans are should be given just as much respect, dignity, and space to grow as we can possibly give them inside a safe space with boundaries, right? And so it's like, okay, set up the chicken wire, but no shocks on it or something, right? So they know that there's a boundary, but it won't really hurt them. But it's like you said, different for each individual person, and setting up boundaries as a wife and as as a woman, and learning how to do that with your community, whether it's through, like with you with coaching, setting those boundaries up to this is where that's really hard for me, I think, is maybe setting those boundaries up with people, or not saying no to or yes to everything and saying no a little more often, right?
Yeah.
But that's being in that right position, just like you said. It's like all comes back to the same place.
Yeah. And with the priorities of each position. Yeah. It's important to remember, for example, in the family system, the priorities, we come first because we need to take care of ourselves, because if we don't have our strength, we're not able to help or take care of anybody else. We're not able to do anything if we're depleted. So we need to take care of ourselves first. And that can feel and sound very selfish, but really, if we're not okay, then the family's not going to be okay. If we're not okay, we're not going to be okay with our partner. And then that's the second priority, the relationship with our partner. And often children, when they're born, when they're young, they take so much time and space. And I know that it's really hard, but the priority should be the relationship between the parents. Because if the relationship is okay, the children are going to be okay, no matter what.
Yeah.
So first is taking care of ourselves. Second is the relationship with our partner. And then third is the relationship with our children. Mm-hmm. But if we're not okay, our partner relationship is not going to be okay. Our children are not going to be okay.
Yeah.
So first is us. And that's the order that brings the balance. And it's really hard to maintain, especially when children are young.
Yeah.
And what happens is that when families don't realize that this is the order and don't take care of the relationship, of the partner relationship, when the children leave, there's nothing there.
Oh,
the relationship doesn't exist anymore. So they struggle to find a way of staying together, because it was the children why they were there. And now that the children don't need them anymore, there's no relationship anymore, because they didn't take care of their relationship during the years that the children were growing up.
Yeah.
So that's really so important, something that we forget.
Oh, don't want that to happen.
No. So as you were saying, saying yes, saying no. So remembering our priorities. So we need to take care of ourselves. So if something is going to deplete us because we're so exhausted of doing so many things, we need to say no. Yeah. Something's going to keep us from being with our partner, something that we said that we were going to be there, that comes first. So when we have those priorities more in order, it's easier to say yes and no to whatever it's coming up because,
Mhm.
life is so busy. There's so many
Oh.
things. So,
And unexpected, you have to almost accept that. And that's hard, especially with a neurodiverse family. It's hard to teach the kids to change is the only thing you can expect. So try to be as comfortable with it as possible and try to just be as flexible with it as possible. I remember in the early years when our son was diagnosed and he had more severe challenges back then, and there was no flexibility. It was so strict to every pattern. And, it was so hard. And it's now he's 13 and we've grown so much as like a family and as, a mother and son. And we've been able to teach him tools to have more giving himself more time to breathe in those moments where he's feeling like he's losing control and losing a sense of everything. And, you just like let them attach to one thing they can control. And it's like, okay, I can take on all of this other stuff, but I remember those early days when it was hard and it was very rigid, very rigid. But just really being so committed to finding a better way to communicate with him, a better way for him to learn to communicate with us. And now it's so neat to see the work you put in, now that they're 11 and 13 and our oldest is 23. She's out of the house and married, but you know, when you see kind of the efforts and the work you've put in with your kids and their relationships, you can't always expect still that you'll have good relationships with them as adults either. Right? Preface that unfortunately, but I think that might come in a little bit what you said a moment ago in putting families together. When you blend families, there's that risk of that um, nurture that was missed in that first family unit that carries on in those, in trauma in those children or probably in the partners as well, some way. So, yeah, that's tricky, huh?
yeah, it's very tricky and difficult, and there's no easy solution because each family is different, each person is different. But as children, we'll always want our parents to be together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's our safety, it's our world, and any
Yeah.
separation, any discomfort for them together, it's gonna destabilize our life.
Yeah.
um and whatever happens as in our children years affect, it affects us the rest of our life
Mm. It's so
completely.
true.
So yeah, it is a big challenge, but I love what you were saying, of having that part of teaching the children on that everything changes. That's just the nature of life,
Yeah.
that there's very little we can control, and to know the difference. And when you were saying this, that's so important. And it's part of the life coaching, you know, 1.1
Yeah,
class.
it comes natural to me.
Yeah. And it's amazing, and it's so powerful and so important and so missed,
Yeah.
so much. And even though I know all these things, we unconsciously want things to stay constant.
Yeah.
We don't
Isn't
want
that
to
the
change.
truth? Yes.
It's our comfort zone
Yeah.
so much that even if if we're suffering, it's hard even to let go of that suffering because it's what we know,
Mhm.
because we fear change. And then we're going to hold on to it and resist it. And so that what you were saying that you were teaching your son, I think it should be taught to every single person in
Yeah.
every moment in life,
Yeah,
because we
definitely.
forget, and
Mhm.
it's so true. So those tools that you were mentioning, wow, I just imagine which ones can be, but they should be taught to every single
Thank
person in the
you.
world. So I think that's
Yeah.
amazing,
And
lovely. Yeah.
it feels like they were forced on me. And in a way that, we learned how to wrangle them and manage them so that they were successful for us. And we saw the importance of the way he still is nonverbal, and he's verbal, but being verbal and being able to communicate, two different, that's a whole different podcast episode. And it's really interesting, when you're having to read body language or having to really assess somebody's moods and their kind of everyday on just what you can see, and what you can hear, knowing their own practices and things like that. So yeah, stay committed to where you should be in your relationships. Stay committed to your, like you said, friendship and intimacy with your partner, and your the honesty and the independence that you give your kids, that I think is so important, that we really be honest with them, no matter how, obviously at their age appropriate levels. But I really don't think that there's anything we can't share with them, in a way that if we know them well enough, they can understand and help them through processes. I feel that so much has in the past, probably from an ancestral back, secrets or family, don't don't want to be discovered as this or uncover this. And I think when we can do away with that, and like it's like a chest of dishonesty, right? And it like holds all this, and I think when we can do away with those types of things, there's so much freedom and love and beauty that can blossom and be nurtured in a family.
Yeah. And, I agree so much on what you just said. And I'm quite extreme in that. And I know that I'm extreme and so many people disagree. But it's so true. There's nothing that our children are not prepared. And it depends on how we bring the information to them.
Yeah.
And something that I've been working with a lot, I'm trying to find how to bring this in a more present, is our way of dealing with death.
Yeah.
Because we avoid it, and it's like it's not going to happen. And so what happens? Nobody's prepared when it happens.
Yeah.
We should be talking about this, all the time, and like you said, in appropriate ways, and according to each age and each person, and the way that they're able to comprehend and digest the information.
Yeah.
But things like this are just like taboo. It's like you don't, or somebody's sick, somebody has a problem, and it's like and it's part of life.
Yeah.
And I'm always so open in talking about, it's I'm really worried because this person has this disease and this, and their children around, and they're like, don't say anything. The children are here. So what?
Yeah.
This is life.
Yes.
They need to learn that, what life is about. Mm-hmm. And I even heard another presenter that works with how to talk to children about sexual relationships. Mm-hmm. And what she was saying is that she always gets the question, what age is an appropriate age? And she was like, since they're born. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Talk to them about this as natural as possible, because it's such a taboo. It's such a that brings shame to talk about it. Then it brings all these things that shouldn't be that way. Mm. And of course, like you said, age appropriated. You're not going to tell a 3-year-old a conversation that you would tell, a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
But bring the conversations in a natural way of things that are part of life, because we don't want to, because we're afraid, because we feel shame, because we're not ready for that. And then it becomes like a blocked thing in the lives of our children. Mm-hmm. And they're not prepared. And it's what's happening with us. We're not prepared for death, for difficulties, for challenges, because it's not talked about, it's not dealt with. Mm-hmm. But so I think that it's a conversation to have. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if we would talk more about death, we would enjoy life more, because we believe like it's not going to happen. Unconsciously, it's like we think we're not going to die.
Yeah.
So then, we don't enjoy the present moment. But
Take it
if
for
we are
granted.
conscious, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, we're conscious that I can die tonight,
Yeah.
then the moment that I'm here with you, the moment that I connect with others, the moment that I give a hug to my daughter, it's going to be precious. It's going to
Yeah.
be, I'm going to cherish
I love
that.
that. Yeah.
So, and I think it's just accepting the difficult parts of life that helps us cherish and enjoy more the rest of our lives.
Definitely. No, it does need to be normalized more, like normalize being normal, right? Normalize having normal problems, being, having family members that are depressed or having addiction or need to talk about, sexual relationships, all of those things. They're so important for society and for our community, for the growth of our future generations. If we want to see them be at peace and have less of what we have today, but still have more of what we have today, right? In the good sense that we have, like you said, all the information and at your fingertips. And we just need to have the right information at their fingertips. Is
Exactly. The right information in the right way.
Yeah, yeah, for them to learn and everything. I love that. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to talk to you today and to learn more about you. What is a website or social medias that you have or we can connect with you?
So if you go to my website, it's called coachingandconstellations.com. There, you would find all the information. You have the information about family constellations, about life coaching. I have a page with my events and a page
Great.
with my videos. And in my videos, you'll find a link to my YouTube channel
Nice.
where you can find more videos with more information. Also, in every page of the website, you'll have my Facebook, my Instagram link. So I think it's a great way to just go to my website, and then there you'll find all the other information. In my about page about me, there's also a link to my podcast
Oh,
that
great.
has so my podcast is basically my videos from the YouTube, but without the video, only with the
Yeah.
sound. And they're always like short videos, like they're like around 5 minutes, so they're easy to
Yay.
watch.
I love
So
that.
there's all that information available.
Oh, I'm so excited to go and follow you and connect with you in all of these places. I hope we can stay in touch
I would love
and
that.
check back in. And I thank you so much for your time today. It was been such a pleasure to talk to you.
It was wonderful. I enjoyed our
Yeah.
conversation so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so, so much. And we'll talk to you soon.